video. We back. See, I told you this was going to be a shorter delay than last than it has been. So I wanted to touch on this topic a little bit more. For my last video, I touched on a little bit, but we're not going to get all wild, like going super in depth with everybody's business. But last time we talked about contracts in the music business, how bad it is for the artists. But your first time here, like, share, subscribe, comment, let me know you're here. Let's get into this a little bit. So we look at the history of contracts and how it's never been in the artist's favor. We know that the music execs, the labels, whoever, they get paid first, right? Because they front you the money, right? They front you a budget. And depending on how your contract is written up, it tells you at what point will you start receiving any proceeds, after what percentage of proceeds they recoup of their money that they fronted, right? But typically, you don't really start seeing nothing until they get their full investment back, right? So, like I said, it really depends on how your situation is structured and how much faith they got in you as an artist or what you're going to sell versus how much money they front loaded you, right? So, everybody know when they give you a budget, right? Let's say it was $1 million. They give it to the artist. They give them $1 million, right? The artist, in their mind, oh, this an M. Let me go buy the cars. Let me go buy the jewelry. Let me party. They ain't never really seen no money, right? But what they don't realize is that $1 million is your budget to make your album, right? So, you know, everybody want the top producers. Well, the top producers cost money. Everybody want the top features. If you ain't got a relationship, it's gonna cost you some money, right? To the engineers, to who mix it. You know, before the album comes out, you know, when it's turned in, it gets mixed and all that, and the sounds all pretty and takes out all the rough edges, right? That costs. It costs money to press up and distribute. Like, all these things cost money. All these things come out of your budget, right? So then the record companies, they put the album out. Most artists don't do well. That's called a spade a spade. It's not lack of talent. It's just the way it goes. For every artist that sells 1 million records, there's somebody that sold 100 records, and all 100 records was like family and friends. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think people realize how many artists there are in the world that are unsuccessful. It's no different than any other thing, like football, basketball. How many of them that you seen had talent? They had the talent, but for whatever reason, they didn't make that cut to go to the next level. Or when they got to the next level, they wasn't really successful. They got 3 minutes at the end of the game when the game out of hand type time, or somebody got injured and they need somebody to play minutes at that position and hoping you come through in some capacity, right? So it works the same way. So now your album's out. Typically, you don't see any money until 6 months, because that's how long it takes to reconcile the books. That's how long it takes for the record label to get their money, because they gonna get their money first. Then it's going to dwindle down. The artists get paid last. The management get paid before the artists do. So let's talk about this a little bit, right? So a management deal is anywhere really from 15 to 20%, right? And we want to talk about today. We ain't got to do historical or nothing like that, because we know it was even worse. But historical today, an artist, a management deal is going, that management person, management company, whoever, they're going to get typically 15 to 20%, right? But that 15 to 20% is off of everything you make, right? It's off endorsement deals, shows. If they get you a feature on something, they get you a movie role, whatever record contract, right? Now, most of you artists today, why the heck would you do this? I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. The worst thing as an artist today you could do is sign to another artist, right? The reason why that's a bad idea is this. It's for a lot of different reasons. But we're going to talk about the business side. Well, that is the business side of it too. One, that's an artist. We already know hip hop is super competitive. So don't matter. That artist could be your big homie, your man, or whoever. They really not trying to have you sounding better than them or moving and selling better than them. Let's go ahead and get that part out the way. I think the most prime example we've seen out of that was Jay-Z and Beanie Sigel. You definitely ain't trying to see the artist sell more records than you and it's your company, right? But let's fast forward past that because to me, that's the least of it. The major part about this, what people got to understand, is that the average artist, let's say the average artist coming in the game, right? He's going to be signed to like 3 people, whether people realize that or not, right? Because you're going to go with so-and-so that got a label situation that's under somebody else that's under a major, right? So let's look at it from this angle. Meek Mill was signed to Rick Ross still, right? So Meek is signed to Maybach, right? Who signed to Atlantic/Universal. So that means Meek essentially is signed to 3 different people before he even get a dime. There's 3 different people that's going to touch paper before he even get a dime. So when he says, I ain't never seen no money off of rap music, off my record deal from my record company, that's why. I mean, you don't sell enough records. It's not like you selling, it's not like you get a billion streams or nothing. So like I said, so Universal got to get paid first. Universal is who gets it out there. They the distributor, they the publisher. So they got to get paid off before anybody else. Then Atlantic got to get paid. Then Ross got to get paid. You know what I'm saying? Let's say, for instance, that Meek homie, I think it's, he with Rock Management now. So they got to get paid. You know what I'm saying? Where are you going to get some money out for record sales that don't happen no more like that? That's why it's the worst thing you could do is sign to an artist, man. If you're going to sign to a major, your best bet is to try to sign directly to that major. But remember, that major 9 times out of 10 is still going to have a distribution deal with somebody else. So now you just 3rd in line. Well, 4th in line because you still got a management deal somewhere. So this is where the artist is losing at. The artist is not doing this mathematics. They going out here, they blowing this paper. The label is never recouping. Jada told y'all on Why. Why is the industry designed to keep the artist in debt? I mean, look at Tupac. He's a good example, right? Even though he sold a bunch of records, but Tupac was never technically a death row artist. Not technically by the letter of the law. He still was an Interscope artist. He had a management deal with Suge. You know what I'm saying? But even that, it still took 6 months he would have got paid, but it still took 6 months to get your check, to start seeing the reward from your album. You know what I mean? It takes time. Because like I said, they gotta reconcile the books. They gotta reconcile the books. Everybody else gotta get paid. Then they can start distributing funds that make it down to the artist eventually. But like I said, there's no reason today that an artist should ever have the excuse of signing a bad deal. There's too much information out there. There's too much information. And you don't need the label today. We're not talking 80s, 90s, 2000s, early 2000s, where you needed a label to really push your music and to get on. outlets today where you can get your music out. Now, granted, like I said, you may not make it to certain markets like overseas or heavy. Now, unless your game that heavy, the movement that heavy, it's still possible to do. But whatever money you make off of that, you should be happy knowing that you don't owe nobody and you see all the books. It ain't hard to order that when all that money comes straight in house. It ain't touching 3 and 4 different LLCs and corporations and all that before it get down to you. It's harder to track that money. Then you gotta fight, you gotta hire a lawyer. Money you really don't have, so now you probably gotta get fronted that money to go hire a lawyer. Or you keep taking out all these different funny type loans, like, it's not hard to figure out why most of your artists really don't have no paper, but you drive around here in $400,000 cars and all this other stuff. It's not hard to figure out, you know what I mean? So now let's get back to the artist part. So now what happens, so what happened with signing to an artist, but you not paying attention to, is this. This artist that you're signed to is keeping that cycle going, right? Because he know his deal messed up. He know the deal he signed is messed up, right? Because he probably low-key almost fall into the same boat. It might not be as bad as your boat, but his contract situation messed up too, right? So that artist that you're signed to really don't start seeing no real rap money paper. We're not talking about like show money and all that other good fancy stuff, right? We're talking like real record money, you know what I mean? Until he do what? Until they give him a label deal, then they front him a boatload of money, maybe 5, 10 million, 20 million, however he can finagle it. Hold on, it's a truck right here, man. Don't go away. Until he gets some money fronted for his label, right? So they give him this money under the guise of go out there and sign some acts, you know, get some revenue coming in here. So now you off the hook, right? So now you off the hook, kind of, sort of, and then you just repeating the cycle of what was done to you. Because if you sign one successful artist, and I use that term loosely, successful, it can kind of almost wipe away your debt. Because now he inherit your debt, really. Because whatever money your record, your album messed up or whatever, or didn't recoup, you take in whatever he bringing in, and you giving that as part of your situation that you owe. Because you got to get paid first before the artist. So whatever your invest was, which it really ain't nothing, because you got fronted the paper. You got advanced all. You got advanced anywhere from 5 million to 20 million to start a label, right? So now that's a continuous cycle. It's a continuous cycle. That's why it bugs me out when these artists complain about these deals, and then you hear when they get a label situation and they offer a young rapper deals, they call him giving him a shot, but they turn around and offer him 20 grand or 30 grand or whatever and say it's a good look for you. You was complaining when that was the same thing done to you. It's the hypocrisy, man. That's the crazy part. You know what I mean? That's why I cringe when I hear these label owners, man. They get on here, or they pre-Grammy night or Grammy night or PSAs or whatever they want to do, and say how, because you know the Jews run the music business, the entertainment industry as a whole, for real. I mean, that's called a spade a spade. So you want to complain about, they say, oh, the white man coming in here, culture vulturing, stealing our talent, getting rich and wealthy and generational wealth off of our back and sweat and talent. All right, that's all fine and dandy. But what you're telling me is that why is it okay when you turn around and do what the artist did? So it's okay if it's black on black, raping and violating. That's okay. That's not an issue, right? Like last night I read Ashanti is doing with I want to say Taylor Swift or somebody. She's re-recording her first album, right? She's re-recording it. So what that does effectively is that gives her ownership of all her material going forward, like after that album, or something to that extent. But I know it gives her control over that album, at least minimum, right? Because you're re-recording it. She's doing under her own label. She's getting new production, I guess. I don't know if they're going to try to jack the production. I don't know about the production side of it, but I seen Irv Gotti pretty much complaining, saying she's trying to steal the masters from her, saying how much work they put in on the album. I get all that, but at what point in time? So what you're saying is you're supposed to own a lifetime of my. Only one person's in there singing. To my understanding, she wrote her own music. Now, granted, you fronted the music, you fronted the money to make the album. I get it, but you don't more than recoup your money. You don't recoup with whatever you put out. You recouped it immediately. It didn't take a long time for you to recoup off of that. The album sold in the millions back when records sold, where albums were still making people wealthy. Well, the execs, not the artists. The artists was getting rich. They wasn't getting wealthy. But the wealth creation comes from ownership of the masters, right? So what you're telling me is that for the rest of my life, or something that I wrote and I sung myself, I didn't get no voiceover. I didn't get none of that. I wrote the music. I wrote the lyrics. That's me. I sung the music. You're supposed to get a lifetime of my work because you fronted the dough? That's not how that works. That's like somebody moving a pack and say, well, going forward, every pack you move, whether it's mine or not, you still got it because I gave you your first pack. You got it. I got to keep cutting a check to you. That ain't how that works. That's stupid as hell. But you feel violated because she want to leave something for her family that her work, not your work. If you wrote the lyric, like Jermaine Dupri, right? When he wrote a lot of Bow Wow, he wrote a lot of that material. So not only did he front the work, but he wrote the work. So not only did he front the money to produce the album, but those are his lyrics. That's his talent. To me, that's a lot different to me. But when you talk about somebody that wrote that music, that sung that music, at what point in time should they reap the ultimate reward for their work? That makes no sense. But y'all sitting over here, same people sitting in the same room talking about how Jimmy Iovine and whoever else is culture vultures because they taking advantage and they ain't writing no music, they ain't singing no lyrics. Okay, neither did you, Irv. You produced the music, I give you that. But why should you have complete ownership over Ashanti's music? It's no different than Sean Combs and Biggie. Yeah. There's no difference than when the Locks took them to task. And they had to get on the radio and do all this weird, goofy stuff just to get some percentage of their music, the money from their music. After 20 years. And somewhere that makes sense to you. But yet you want to go pre-Grammy night and talk about how people culture vultures and they ain't paying the artists and they taking advantage of the artists and the artists is... You part of culture vultures then. Why? Because you black, you not part of culture vultures? No, your acts make you part of the culture vultures. What you talking about? Make it make sense. ain't how that work. You don't get no pass. Come on with the Jedi mind tricks, man. It's happening at alarming, man. If you look at some of these artists, man, and really know what kind of deal they got, man, you'll throw up, man. You will literally throw up. One chick I seen, her deal, I think she's literally going to have 1 billion streams before she see 100,000. What? Man, the thing, the craziest, outlandish, absurd thing. Come on, man. But they took advantage on the situation. They took advantage on where people coming from. The fact that they ain't really see no money. The fact that they living conditions. They may have a little drug habit. I mean, think about it. Baby was paying most Cash Money artists. He was just getting them high, man. He was paying them in heroin. A lot of them, he just was getting them high and buying them a 3-piece chicken wing dinner, and that was cool with them. Cars rented, jewels rented. Did. Now, I think eventually he did say he took care of the main ones like Wayne, Drake, Nicki. I think Manny got straightened out eventually. But look at these names that I'm dropping. What about the Turks? What about the BGs? I don't think Juvie never really got squared away. You know what I mean? So come on, man. Come on, man. And then people gotta make it public. They gotta hire lawyers, and it's almost like some injury lawsuit lawyer type time. They probably gonna take it if they know they can win it, and they gonna be able to recoup. So they ain't even gonna charge you nothing on the front end. They gonna take it out on the back end. You know what I mean? And they only doing that because they got the faith they can trace this money down, track this money down to give you what you entitled to, at least enough for them to get paid. That's a dirty game, man. Stop falling for the banana in the tailpipe. But yeah, I just wanted to touch on that, especially when I seen that Ashanti and Irv situation. And I just talked about it. I ain't going on in depth, but I touched on it a little bit. But these 360 deals, and these you signing to an artist, or you signing to a dude that signed to a dude that signed to two or three more dudes. Man, that's crazy. But I guess people get burnt every day in the hood, B. You tough, right? I get back at y'all, man. Like, share, subscribe, comment.